want to begin with the land acknowledgement, and I want to say that we do remember, honor, and respect Indigenous peoples' decolonization, autonomy, and sovereignty struggles, and that their remembering of suppressed poetics and politics and treaties teaches us here the ethico-political importance of cultures of protest, importance for rethinking research today across disciplines, the disciplines that have been formed through the projects of colonialism and imperialism. This is especially the case in the social sciences. If you think about William Petty's political arithmetic, Petty is considered to be the father of demography, political economy, or a whole range of social science disciplines. But of course, geography, sociology, anthropology were all instrumental parts of the colonial and imperialist projects. But this also goes for the disciplines in the humanities and fine arts as well. Now, as all of these modern disciplines of elitist and white supremacist common sense were reconstructed after the Second World War, it was the long-enduring, robust and militant marginal cultures of protest, whether it's feminism, anti-racism, gender civil rights, decolonization, environmentalism, labor militancy, all of these things, it was these cultures of protest that affected any kind of critical turn that's happened in modern disciplines, right? And so reflecting on the cultures of protest in this kind of way is crucially important in this particular moment, given that we now have an avowedly white supremacist commander-in-chief and the president of, the most, the biggest arms industry on the planet, kind of thing. So what I really want to say in this regard, in terms of just wrapping up my welcoming remarks, is that the work that you folks are doing in the social sciences and humanities, and the papers that will be presented here, the discussions we'll be having, all of this is more important now than it's ever been before in that regard, right? That it's precisely the kind of work that we do in the humanities, fine arts, and social sciences that is our fundamental resources of hope, along with protest movements and the fact that there are millions and millions of people, billions of people actually protesting all kinds of different things going on in the world today. People in the news, everybody's talking about how, will the markets restrain Trump and so on and so forth. It's not the markets that's going to matter. It's going to be the cultures of protest and their long, deep histories and what people make of those cultures in the present in this kind of way. So that's what I have to say in terms of just sort of framing our discussions here today. I'm super excited to be thinking alongside of you in the next couple of days, listening to your presentation and so on. There's a couple of things I want to say about the program notes, just to sort of highlight a few things that's coming up. But before I do that, I also want to thank our sponsors for this. We greatly acknowledge the support of all of these organizations, KIOS especially, but everybody else there as well. A couple of things about the program notes I want to say is, first of all, that Pete and Lynn's performance cuts, that'll start in the studio. We're going to sort of convene in the room next door to us here. But they're going to actually lead us over to the cab atrium to perform there. So we'll walk over with Pete and Lynn. Fortunately, the weather is lovely today, so it'll be a nice, pleasant walk. But if you want to bring a sweater, that's all I'm saying about that. Furthermore, one of the things that sort of stimulated this whole festival was a number of students and colleagues of mine that said to me that we should really do something to remember the student encampments, both on this campus and also across the world in that kind of way, and especially to remember and contest the ways in which they have been basically maligned and effaced, forgotten, and misrepresented in deep kinds of ways. So at the very end of our program on Saturday at 4:30, we'll have a very short kind of planning meeting The idea is to do a kind of performance intervention, perhaps on the first day of when the student encampments came together here. Or we'll figure out what's the most appropriate day to do it. But we all gather just by ourselves, and any poetry, any text, anything that people want to read that responds to either the protesting encampments and how they were, in fact, a kind of utopian university space in one kind of way, or about what's happening in Gaza and maybe the thoughts of Palestinian political thinkers and activists and so on. So we'll have a brief discussion. Won't take very long. Come on in, and find a place to sit. Won't be very long meetings, is what I'm saying. So that's on Saturday. The other thing I want to say is that there's a wonderful theater production film that the Department of Drama is presenting. That's this evening at 5:30 p.m. It's called In the Heart of Violence by Edouard Luis and Thomas Ostermeyer. And that's at the Tim Center starting at 5:30, and it's free. So if you're interested in that, do take that in. The other thing is that next door there's a poster exhibition. These are posters that were created by Devashish Chakraborty. They come out of the Bangladesh student protest movement that actually removed the sitting government from power and so on. So make sure you check that out next door, just in the room beside us here. And that's also where coffee and refreshments and lunch and that kind of stuff will be. The other thing I want to quickly say is I want to thank my organizational team, people that have helped me with all of this. Shobhata Chaudhary, who's here, Nazmul Arifin, Thomas Marinas, Angela Wilson, and there's one of the other things I want to say is that we are going to be documenting this both by video and photography. So if you have concerns about being photographed or video and so on and so forth, do either talk to me or to Yelena Guzman. But Yelena and Valentin over there are the kind of documentation team.